expecting you. The love boat, so we'll be making another run. It's love. Welcome aboard, it's love.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar on Fairbanks Princess Riverside Lodge. For those of you whom I haven't met yet, my name is Mary, and I'm the Director of Alaska Planning and Marketing here at Princess Cruises. We're so excited to have you here with us today and to have our GM of our lodge to give us a taste of what life is like aside the Chino River. I'm coming to you live today from Juneau, Alaska, where I reside year-round. And on this, as the photos were showing on the previous slide, I spend a lot of time outdoors, either whale watching or crabbing or fishing. And as I was looking in the chat at the top of this call, it looks like we've got some folks from California, Texas. We've got a Merry Christmas. So thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Thank you for taking time out of your day. So before we kick off, I just wanted to say that we have a couple of housekeeping items here. One is that this recording is going to be available for you on OneSource after the call. And then we also want to make sure that this is fairly dynamic. So if you have any questions about the product or the brand, feel free to drop them in the chat as we go along. And if you could go ahead and flip to the next slide. So earlier this year, I had the opportunity to be with Marsha Patrick, one of our all-star sales directors. We were in San Francisco on our Love Fest, or at our Love Fest, and we were talking to some of our travel partners about the Alaska product. And there are several questions that came to us about the land portion of our cruise tours. So we thought, let's bring in the experts, our GMs, and have them connect with you directly. So the 6-part webinar series aims to provide you more information about our land, so our terrain and our lodges, so that you remain an expert with your clients. So if we could flip to the next slide. I am incredibly honored to introduce today's expert, Danielle Hayes. She is our GM at Fairbanks Princess. Danielle and I met for the first time earlier this year, and it was from that very moment that I met her that I knew we would become fast friends. And if I'm remembering correctly, Danielle, you started your career with Princess as a motor coach driver, right?
I did, Mary, in 1994, totally dating myself.
Awesome. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself then, Danielle?
Great. Well, I'm so happy to be here and to share Fairbanks and Fairbanks Princess Riverside Lodge with you. Fairbanks has been my home for almost 24 years now. I originally grew up in Seattle, and as Mary said, I relocated and started being a driver guide in between college, and then it just became my home, and I have a family here. My husband and I have 2 kids, and we keep very active. Even in the winter, it's 1 degree today, in case anybody's wondering. We're above 0. Yay, we're so excited. And it is still dark. We haven't, I think the sun's just rising now. So it is the darkest time of year as we head to winter solstice. But one of my favorite times of year is summer solstice, and that's June 21st. It's when we have almost 24 hours of daylight. So we love to share that with our guests. Anyway, I've worn many hats with Princess Cruises, and currently I'm the GM, as Mary mentioned, of Fairbanks Princess Riverside Lodge, and this is my 3rd year heading into 2024. We're so excited to open our doors on May 9th, and we are a seasonal property. We will close down in September, but we'll have a lot of fun in between. So I do want to share some more slides with you as you get to know our property. So where is Fairbanks? We are right in the middle of the state, practically. We're about 500 miles from Prudhoe Bay north. And then south, you heard from my counterparts at Mount McKinley Princess Wilderness Lodge. I don't know if you can see my little icon here, but they're about 260 miles south of Fairbanks. And you met with Michael, if you were on some of the previous shows, at Denali National Park, about 130 miles from Fairbanks South. And so we're not too far, but as you can tell, it is a very big state. One of the cool opportunities we have being in Fairbanks, we're called the Golden Heart City. We have a lot of daylight hours, and also we are the first stop and the last stop for many of our cruise tour guests. And so we get the opportunity to meet and greet people right at our international airport, take them over a short ride. We're about 5 minutes from the airport to the lodge, so we're very close, and we're located on the beautiful Chena River. Now, when your guests do arrive at the airport or yourselves, we are there to greet you, and we take care of everything. You will be met with guest service representatives and inside the airport, and they will have you grab your bags. They'll give you a local agenda in an envelope. And so it's a really awesome packet that includes your itinerary, includes your bag tags, and includes your room key, which is super awesome because once you arrive to the hotel, again, we have somebody get on and greet the coach and let people know what's going on depending about the time of day it is. And then guests can go directly to their hotel rooms. They have their keys right in their packet. So that's a nice handoff that we do to try to make it a seamless experience for our guests. I mentioned the daylight. Our average temps here in Fairbanks are around 73 degrees in June and July, but oftentimes we get to the 80s, and people are often very shocked by that. We're one of the coldest places in the winter and one of the warmest places in the summer. And we only average about 10 inches of rain a year, so we stay fairly dry. But on this slide, what I'd like to direct your attention to is our beautiful lodge. So it's a big unit, but we have 3 different wings, all connected by a core. We're situated on 15 acres, and we have 328 rooms. We are currently going through a renovation, changing 30 of our rooms with double beds to king beds. So we're upping our percentage of king beds. That's what people want. That's what we're doing. I put the breakdown there. So we'll be at about 190 king beds and 138 double beds. And then we have, of course, our accessible rooms. We have 3 dining areas in the Fairbanks Princess Lodge, including an espresso outlet that's situated within our gift shop. And we have a beautiful, beautiful garden areas that I'll expand on in just a few minutes. Green spaces and walking trails and outside games and opportunities. First, I want to introduce you to the Edgewater Restaurant. It's a mid-scale restaurant with amazing views of the tranquil Chena River. We offer breakfast in this restaurant, and it is a buffet, and we do a continental buffet. And then for those looking on the lighter side, we have our grab and go with our espresso. And oftentimes people leave in the morning for their day adventures, so it's up to them what they'd like. We offer dinner in this venue, and I have to tell you, hands down, my favorite entree is our Parmesan encrusted halibut with a coconut curry sauce. And we do practice these in the winter as well. And I just got a taste yesterday, and I told my husband, I'm going to make this at home. And he's like, yeah, it probably won't be as good. It wasn't very kind, but I'm going to try anyway. Next, we have our Trackers Bar and Grill, and this is kind of a kitschy, like woodsy fireside sort of vibe with open views to the cook line and the bar. It makes it really fun and social. This is a very popular venue. We have a lot of items that are popular, like burgers, fish and chips, nachos. I have to say my favorite is the grilled cheese with pesto. Amazing. And as we get later into the summer and our growing season, we make our own pesto with our basil we grow. Again, more to come on that one. Next, we have our Riverside Deck. And this is an amazing view, like I said, of the Chena River. Oftentimes there's lots of activity on the Chena. And Fairbanks is home to two military outlets, Fort Wainwright and Eielson Air Force Base. And oftentimes in the summer, have they have a lot of military exercises. So especially midweek, people will see aircraft flying over and Air Force jets and things. And it's a really fun sight to see. People love it being out on that deck. And you also see boaters and fishers and all kinds of activity on the river. It's a great place to dine. We have lunch and dinner there. And we also have our outside bar. And so people find it a really enjoying, relaxing location to be. Next, we have our Seasons gift shop and espresso. We offer great Alaska gifts. And again, like I said, we're the first and the last stop. So all those people who forgot to buy the gift before, they load up in Fairbanks. We still have more gifts to sell. So we also offer shipping from there. We have a variety of grab and go and items, toiletry items, things that people might have missed. And then we serve, of course, espresso drinks from an Alaska roaster called Steam Dot. And we do an AK roast, which is really great. People really have enjoyed that. I kind of want to draw your attention now to the map. I mentioned that we're sitting on 15 acres. And on that 15 acres, we've done a really good job of mapping out some trails for people to walk on. And I mentioned our weather's generally pretty dang good. And so on these trails, I can't tell you the exact miles. It has a little bit printed here. But we do have a really awesome chef's garden that you can walk along the river. And I'm going to point here. So here's the deck. And then we have our chef's garden, which is really amazing. I keep touting that, and I'll show you some really great pictures here in a minute. And then you can go up, and behind the lodge, we have a nice wooded area with trails. And in those trails, we have interpretive signs. We have old cabins, a cache. And new this year, we're going to be doing some geocaching. So if you have guests that are into that, I know me and my son really are. And he's actually last year walked the property with me and helped me pull out 3 or 4 locations where we're going to set our geocaches up. So he's pretty excited to come back while mom's working too. Also there we have our horseshoe pits, kind of a game area. We have horseshoe pits, bocce ball, cornhole. So it can be a very active area and really fun for our guests.
Danielle, do you see any moose on property?
We do see moose on property. Mary, I haven't seen any moose in the summertime, but I do have a lot of activity right now. And the first time this year, I saw a bull moose right outside my office window. And
oh my
I was
gosh!
shocked because usually we have a female moose with a couple babies. Last year, we had a female moose with 3 babies, and I have not seen them this year, but I did see that bull moose. Actually, no, I did see a female, and we also have fox that run around.
Oh,
so
cool. Yeah.
that's pretty cool. My maintenance managers last year, we have this one entrance door for employees, and they put some salt out there because it had snowed. And so one of my employees was going to walk out the door, and there was a moose standing literally right there. She had to close the door, and then she was excited that she opened the door briefly and took video of the moose licking the salt that the maintenance. So they're like, oh, maybe we shouldn't be putting salt down. But anyway, it was pretty fun to see that. We do see moose. Also, you mentioned wildlife. So on the river, we have a few beaver friends that live on the river. And sometimes they try to, much to our gardeners' dismay, they try to get into our gardens and have. So I'm going to move on to the gardens and tell you a little bit more about that. Our growing season's really June 1 to the beginning of September. I put September 15th, but honestly, most things are harvested by then. We have a very short growing season, but things can grow very large because of our basically 24 hours of daylight. Starting in March, we have more daylight than any of the lower 48 states. So we get a lot of daylight. Usually the rule of thumb here is to plant June 1, and we push it a little if we can look at the forecast and say, okay, we might get this in the ground a week early if it's not going to be too cold. And we grow things like potatoes, broccoli, cauliflower, zucchini, kohlrabi. I know some of you out there have heard of kohlrabi. I'm sure of it. Radish, green onions, and then some herbs like dill, basil, mint, things. And all of those things, once they come to harvest, we incorporate them into our dishes. So all these seasonal items, which is really fun to do. And our staff really love it. I'm going to show you a few pictures here of some of that. And we also use the flowers. We use fresh cut flowers in our lobby. That's one of my personal favorites. Being in town, it's easy to get flowers. I love having fresh cut flowers in the lobby. But once we can start harvesting our own flowers, there's just something special about that to be proud of. And our team is proud of that. And we really enjoy it. I mentioned that kohlrabi. This is Heather over here. She's our hotel services manager. She's holding an 11-pound kohlrabi. So I'm sure you never saw one of those in the store, but that's how big things can grow around here. We like to tout our cabbage sizes too. They can grow quite large. And then some of our staff, Gina's got her radishes and Renee's over here with the zucchini. So you can see that we incorporate those into the meals. My maintenance manager, his personal favorite is these nasturtiums, this first picture in the upper left. If you have nasturtiums in the lower 48, they're just beautiful, but they grow very large here. And they're actually an edible flower. So when he's out there, he's convincing all kinds of guests to take a bite of these nasturtiums, and they think it's great. Next is our potato garden. We actually last year added, this is a whole big box that we added last year and they're Yukon Gold potatoes, and we grow Yukon Golds very specific for a very specific reason. We partner with Fairbanks Distilling Company, and they produce a potato vodka here in town. Their distillery is right downtown, and we've collaborated with them to donate our Yukon Gold potatoes, and they go right into their 68 Below vodka, which we in turn use for some special cocktails that we offer. And one of them is the 68 Below Mule, which is very delicious. A lot goes into this, but I don't know if any of you have grown potatoes out there, but they're not too hard to grow. You just got to keep care of them a bit and then harvest them. It's a little bit like finding an Easter egg hunt. And you can see one of our employees, Matt, sorry, it's a little blurry, but he thought it was great to go and harvest all those potatoes. We clean them, and then we take them to the distilling company. And this is Patrick, who's with Fairbanks Distilling, and that's his process behind there. It takes about 1,000 pounds of potatoes to make one batch of the 68 Below vodka. I can't remember how many cases that is, but we currently have batch 14, and that is from our potatoes as well. Now, we can't quite give them 1,000 pounds yet, so we can't call a whole batch, but we're doing pretty good. We're around 450 pounds we've been donating on average. And then down below here, some of our gardeners, and they come back year after year, and they're amazing. A lot of times they're there harvesting, and our guests get to talk to them. So they find it really entertaining and delightful. Okay, Mary, I'm going to transition on things to do around Fairbanks. I know many people had questions. Some people are aware of some of the tours that we include with some of our Princess itineraries. And so I'll go over those, and then I'll talk about some other things that you can do while you're in Fairbanks.
And we do have a question that it looks like somebody said or asked, what is the proximity of the lodge to downtown?
Good question. It's about 6 miles from the lodge to downtown, but we do offer a shuttle for people to go. It's a small fee. I think it's $10, and then they could ride it all day. And there are a few different stops that go to Pioneer Park, downtown, and also near a shopping center. A lot of guests, that's a good segue. A lot of guests ask, like, what is there in town if I need to get to a pharmacy? And because we are a town, there's about 35,000 people locally, 90,000 in the borough. We have regular grocery stores and all those things, pharmacies, dentists, doctors, and a hospital. So, we're pretty well set up. So people do use that shuttle and they do go downtown. So great question. Let me know if there's any more, Mary, as I can't see those right off here.
Absolutely.
The first tour I'll highlight, somebody mentioned it already. Some of you are obviously some experts in this area, but the Riverboat Discovery is one of top 10 rated attractions in Alaska, and it's included on many of the Princess Cruise Tour itineraries. And this boat here holds about 1,000 people, maybe 900. So there's indoor and outdoor seating, and this paddle wheeler does go down the Chena, and you get to see the marriage of the rivers. There's the Chena River is a freshwater river, and then there's the Tanana, which is a glacial river. And so I don't know if you've seen a glacial river, but there's a lot of silt. It looks muddy. And so they call it the marriage of the rivers because it's a really cool sight to see. They also stop at a recreated Athabascan Native village where you'll see some people doing different demonstrations. They get off the boat. They can see reindeer there. And then there's some other fun demonstrations along the way with a float plane and also one with Susan Butcher's kennel, Trailbreaker Kennel. And they have speakers that they speak from the side on land. And so the guests really enjoy that. On the boat, they do have snacks and drinks for purchase. And then they also have lunch at the riverboat. They have a kind of family style lunch at the riverboat. That's included on some itineraries, and it would be listed if it was included.
Danielle, looks like we have some riverboat fans. In the chat, so. Woo!
Any questions I need to answer, Mary?
No, I think you're good. We have about 5 to 7 more minutes left. So
okay, great. Next, another included tour on some of the itineraries is Gold Dredge number 8. And this is the original gold dredge that stopped. It stopped in its original stopping location. And these used to mine through the Tanana Valley. And I can't tell you how many miles this went, but that's why you need to come up here and take the tour. People do get on a train ride, and they go from the parking area down to a panning area. You see this cute little fellow here. He got some gold in there, and that's what our guests love. They love to come get their gold, and then they can go in this gift shop area where they can get their gold weighed. They can get necklaces and things made out of the gold. And of course, gifts that they want to purchase, or even more sand. You know what? I have to tell you guys something really funny I learned. I didn't know this is a thing. Guests will purchase sand that's spiced with gold, right? And they will actually pan in our bathrooms in the lodge. The maintenance manager's like, we couldn't figure out why there was so much rocks in the, wherever they were finding some clogs and things. And we found out sometimes guests like to pan right in their own room. Please don't suggest it, though.
You say you probably don't recommend that, do you?
Don't recommend it, but it's a real thing. It's crazy. They love the gold, right? They get the gold fever. We also have black gold, right? We have our Alaska pipeline, and many of you probably know about this. It's 800 miles from Prudhoe Bay to Valdez. And in certain areas, it's about half and half, half above ground, half below ground. Depends if there's permafrost or not. And in parts of Fairbanks, you can see where the pipeline is actually above ground. And if your guests are on the Gold Dredge number 8 tour, they will get a pretty extensive description of how this functions and how it was built and how much oil runs through, all those things. People are generally fascinated with that information. And then we have optional excursions. They're not all listed here, but we have a natural hot springs in Fairbanks. It's called Chena Hot Springs, an excursion that guests can purchase. We have in August and September, you can actually see the aurora in Fairbanks, which is super cool. And we have Trailbreaker Kennel, which you get a kind of a preview or a display when you're on the Riverboat Discovery, but you can actually purchase what they call like their backstage pass, and you can go meet these cute little fuzzy puppies. And I think that's what a lot of people really enjoy as well. And there are more inside of our lodge. We have, it's like a concierge. It's our guest service desk, and guests can go and see what kind of tours are available to them depending on their timeline in Fairbanks. And that we have ATV tours and fishing and flight seeing. So there's a lot of options for them to do. I encourage people to look ahead of time to see what they might want to do, but there's the opportunities to book right at the tour desk in the lodge as well. And that sums up my presentation. I could probably go on for another hour and give you the full tour of Fairbanks, but I think Mary has some other ideas for you for the rest of the show.
Are you making me the bad cop, Danielle?
Well, you have limited my time, Mary.
Yeah, touche. So one question that did come in, Danielle, do you offer wake-up calls for the aurora?
We are working on that. We haven't been able to do that in the past, but we are working on a new phone system this year where that's an opportunity that that we might be able to participate in. One thing that the front desk does that's really cool is we encourage people to get the Aurora app, but we also post, there's a lot of information that comes from we have a university in town that tracks and they have the Geophysical Institute that tracks the Aurora. So we post like if it's highly likely for the Aurora to be out, because they can forecast that. And we know if it's a super cloudy night, there's probably literally no chance, but we know on a clear night, and if the aurora forecast is high, we post that for people and kind of general times to look for to be able to see that.
Awesome. Are there any other questions that we should answer right now? Otherwise, I might ask to jump over to the next few slides.
Okay.
Cool. Yep, this one's perfect. Oh, can we go back one more by chance? Is that possible? There we go. Sweet. So very quickly, I know we only have a couple minutes here, but I wanted to make sure that we talked about our North to Alaska programming for 2024. We are elevating the programming a bit more to make sure that it's more inclusive and immersive across our ship and our land products. So just look for that and make sure your guests are aware that a lot of our programming includes more hands-on activities. So as Danielle mentioned, there's puppies. We obviously have the puppies in the piazza, which I'm sure you've heard about. And we're really elevating our culinary aspects. So making sure that we have some signature drinks at the lodges as well as on ship. We also have a National Parks cruise tour, which is new this year for 2024 as well as 2025. We know a lot of our guests have requested to go to the national parks in Alaska. So this one combines 4 or 5 of our national parks into one cruise tour. And then for 2025, we have a few long cruise tours as well. The one highlighted here is a 22-day summer solstice cruise tour. This one will make sure that you're in Alaska for the longest day of the year. So you can experience some of that sunshine across the evening hours, just like Danielle had mentioned earlier. And then finally, we have the Katmai cruise tour. So this one just launched a couple days ago, or a couple weeks ago, I should say. It is an opportunity for your guests to go to Katmai National Park, where they can see brown bears feasting on salmon. It is that iconic shot of having the brown bear standing on top of Brooks Falls, trying to catch their fish. And to help provide a flavor of what that cruise tour looks like, we did put together a quick video for you. So in the final minutes of our time today, we'd like to leave you with that video. Awesome. So with that, I think we will conclude today's session. Thank you so much, Danielle, for being here with us today. We appreciate it. And thank you,
Thank you,
everyone,
Mary.
for attending live as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.